If you're a regular subscriber to this channel, you'll have seen a few projects that we're on with, and one of the latest ones I bought is this Fireblade. I'm intending this summer to use it as a bit of a rider, so I'm not going to do any projects that take it to pieces. However, because I have people that might want to come on the back, I've bought this rear rail for it, and it's in pretty crap condition, to be honest, but it was the only one on eBay, not mind the cheapest or anything. It's got rust on it and the powder coating's coming off. I thought this would be a good opportunity to go through doing powder coating. I have done, I think, previous powder coating videos, but this time I'll perhaps go through the steps purely focusing on the powder coating side of it and explaining that a little bit more rather than what the end result is. So I'm going to use this as the example, and that's the whole focus of this video. Now, the first thing I've got to do with this is de-rust it and get all the old finish off. So I'm probably going to do that on a wire wheel and maybe in the sandblaster. So let's crack on with that. We're having a lovely British summer again, so I've been rained off outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sandblast all the hard to get to bits that I couldn't get on the wire wheel. That's all the previous coating and the rust taken off it, yeah, so I'm quite pleased with that. It took a while, a couple of hours of my life I'll never get back. Now the important thing is that when you put the powder coat on, the surface that shows through is the surface that you've got, pretty much like when you're spray painting. So if you've got lumps and bumps will show through. So I'm going to give this a scuffing over with a 3M scrubbing pad, then I'm going to panel wipe it, and then the important bit is I'm going to put it in the oven where I will eventually powder coat it, put it on 180 to 200 degrees centigrade, leave it for half an hour. Now that burns off any more oils or things that might have actually found their way into the metal. I believe it's more important with aluminium than it is with steel, but it's important you do it with both. Once you've put it in the oven, you don't want to be touching it with bare hands again because you don't want to put any grease on it. So let's get it ready to cook. Now this is just an old built-in oven. For doing powder coating, it's best not to use a fan oven. So this was one that wasn't a fan one that someone pulled out. It's just a domestic one. This is the biggest item I've actually done. It's not the heaviest because I've done, I think we've done a vice in the past. But I've got to be careful because obviously it's got to fit in without touching anything. So I'm going to hook it onto this rack. and then make sure it's not touching, and then when I come to actually powder coat it afterwards, I'll keep it on the rack in the same place so I know it'll go in. Now this is a simple powder coating system, but what is powder coating? You use it instead of painting. Instead of spraying paint onto something, what powder coat is, you put a spray of powder over the item, you heat it up, it melts, it merges into the surface and gives you a very durable finish. So it's really useful from that perspective as giving a more durable finish than just paint. So how does this kit work? It's the basic kit that's probably built in China. I'll put a link in the description so you can get, it's the same kind of kit that I've got. It basically works by, you have a gun, the powder goes through the gun onto the item. The thing that makes the powder stick on the item is you've connected it with a ground wire to this box of tricks. Now the air pressure you use going through the gun is very low, about probably 15 to 20 psi, and you get your powder, you put your powder in the container, you put it onto the gun, you connect up to your item that you're going to paint, you switch on your box of tricks, and just before you start spraying, or pressing the powder anyway, you put your foot on this pedal. And this pedal actually makes this put tens of thousands of volts. Negative charge at that end, positive charge at this end. Pull the trigger, powder wafts out. Have it near the item. It actually sticks to the item because the positive charge of this, as it's coming through, sticks it to the negative charge that's caused. So you make sure you get an even coating of powder on it, and then when you've finished, turn this off, take your foot off there, everything's safe, no more electricity going through it. You can then unclip your item, and the powder will pretty much stay on it until you've moved it and put it into the oven to bake it on. So I'll show going through those steps when we actually do powder coat that rail in a minute, but that's the basics of powder coating. There's one other control that you really need to know about. You can adjust the voltage that it's at from, in this case, 30,000 volts to 50,000 volts. My understanding is, and no doubt in the comments I'll be corrected if this is wrong, the higher you have this, the stronger the attraction of the powder to the item. Now that sounds like a great idea, but if your item's got little internal surfaces that that the powder's got to go past to get to, you don't want it too attracting so that it gets a build up on the edge. What you would do is you turn it down so that it gets a chance to get past anything that's near it when it's going to an internal part, and we'll stick to the internal part. To be honest, I've set it on 40 and left it at that for virtually everything I've done, and it's been giving me good results. I've been quite pleased. Right, that's half an hour. What I'll do now is I'll let it cool down to a temperature so that I can actually move it around and put the powder on it before I put it back in. Right, while that's cooling, I'll get the equipment set up. I thought you might be interested. You can buy all sorts of colours, yeah, RAL colour, yeah, code, and you can get different finishes and textures and all sorts. The only trouble is, this stuff, it's, you know, it gets everywhere, and if your bag bursts, you end up with a whole workshop full of a certain colour. So anything you use in regular, like black, I keep in, well, I use these coffee things so that they're in, and this is a nice RAL 9005 gloss black, so I'm not going to do my grab rail some strange colour. Now I've put in a lot more powder than I think I'm going to use, because when I've finished I can pour it back. Obviously better than paint, because paint you'd end up throwing it away. As I said, you need to actually have the pressure really low, so I'm going to turn this down probably 20 psi. That sounds about right. You don't need a big beast like this. Even a small compressor would be good enough for powder coating, unless you were doing, you know, industrial quantities. Right, let's set the gun up. First of all, I've plugged in my box of tricks. Put on my powder. Looks like it'll work a treat. I'm going to put the negative in an inconspicuous area. I need to make sure it's got a really good contact. You can move it afterwards and put a little bit more powder where it was if that's necessary. Now really, this isn't ideal. It'd be much better if it was high up, but you've got to work with what you've got sometimes, and this will work for me. Well, I don't think I've missed anywhere, so time to get it in the oven and bake it on. Oven on, not just the light. And then I put it at 200, and then when I know the thermostat has switched the heating off so it starts cycling, I let it have half an hour. Right, it's had half an hour. Let's have a look at the cake. Well, that looks like it's baked on lovely. We'll give it some time to cool down now so we can actually handle it and have a proper look. That was a fantastic result. I am really pleased with this. A few hours work, but I've taken something that probably might have got thrown away and it's now, well, probably as good as the day it was delivered when it was new. Only thing that's missing, need a couple of plastic bungs. Well, if you've enjoyed this, why not watch some of our other content and subscribe? And if you think it's okay, give us a thumbs up. Thanks for watching anyway, and see you again soon.